Hey YouTube, Jim here. Welcome to Top 10 Archive. All 10 of these people were almost assassinated, but their attackers failed. From political candidates to musicians, nobody is really safe in the public eye, which is why security is so often important. Did you know someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump in 2016? Or how about Bob Marley and Andy Warhol? Here are some of the most famous people who were almost assassinated. But before we get started, why not become an archivist today by clicking that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. If you end up enjoying this video, let us know by giving it a thumbs up, and in the comment section, tell us about other famous assassination attempts. Number 10. Margaret Thatcher. It all went down at the Brighton Hotel back in 1984, and the attempt was not only on the Prime Minister of the UK, Margaret Thatcher, but on her whole cabinet. They were staying at the hotel for the Conservative Party conference. The bomb was planted by the Irish Republican Army and actually went off. Prime Minister Thatcher made it out, but 5 people in the party were killed and 31 others were injured. It went off at 2:54 a.m. and brought down a 5-ton chimney stack all the way to the basement, which left a massive hole in the hotel. Thanks to its sturdy structure, the hotel remained standing, and this probably led to the survival of the remaining people. Thatcher even had time to change clothes. She gave an interview around 4 a.m. to the BBC's John Cole and promised to conduct the conference as usual. She asked Marks & Spencer to open so survivors could purchase new clothing and went from the conference to the hospital to visit the injured. Pretty good leadership, considering the circumstances. Number 9. Donald Trump. A lot of people don't know this, but during a campaign rally in June 2016, Donald Trump was almost assassinated. He was in Las Vegas, and a man named Michael Stephen Sanford tried to grab the pistol off of a police officer in order to shoot Trump. Thankfully, he was not successful. He was arrested, he waived his Miranda rights, and said he had planned on killing Trump to keep him from becoming president. He was sentenced to 12 months and 1 day and deported to the UK after only 6 months. Seems like a light sentence for someone who tried to kill a presidential candidate. Sanford suffered from mental illness, and the incident led to a documentary in the UK by the BBC in 2017. Number 8. Gerald Ford. Ford was not the victim of just one near assassination, but 2. In 1975, Lynette Fromm, a follower of Charles Manson's The Family Cult, pointed a handgun at Ford and pulled the trigger. The gun didn't go off, and it was later revealed that she intentionally left the chamber empty, but did have 4 rounds. Larry Buendorf, a Secret Service agent, grabbed the gun and took her into custody. She was sentenced to life in prison, but was released on parole 34 years later in 2009. Just 17 days later, Sarah Jane Moore, watching from a crowd across the street, tried to shoot him with a revolver. She missed by a few feet and was about to try again, but Oliver Sipple, a retired Marine, grabbed the gun, deflecting the shot enough so that the bullet hit about 6 inches away from his head before bouncing off to hit a taxi driver. Moore, like Fromm, was sentenced to life in prison and was released on parole in 2007 after serving 32 years. Number 7. Ronald Reagan. Another failed attempt to kill a president. This time in 1981 by John Warnock Hinckley Jr., who tried to kill President Ronald Reagan in D.C. He managed to wound him, as well as a police officer, a Secret Service agent, and Press Secretary James Brady, who lived permanently disabled after and died as a result of his injuries later in life. Hinckley shot a revolver 6 times at Reagan as he left the Hilton Hotel after an AFL-CIO conference. Hinckley was already a strange character, a known stalker of Jodie Foster. In fact, his attempted assassination of Reagan was what he called the greatest love offering in the history of the world, and he was reportedly disappointed that she didn't feel the same way. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity and sent to a psychiatric care institution until September 2016. It was this sentencing that led to the Insanity Defense Reform Act of 1984, which made it more difficult for defendants to use the insanity plea. Number 6. Vladimir Lenin. On August 30th, 1918, Lenin had a speech at the Hammer and Sickle Arms Factory in Moscow. As he finished, a woman named Fanny Kaplan called out to him and shot 3 times in his direction with a pistol. 2 of them hit, one through the neck and once in the left shoulder. He was moved to the Kremlin and refused to leave, fearing another attack. The bullets, therefore, couldn't be removed, and he never fully recovered. In fact, it's said that the shooting led to the strokes that eventually killed him not too long after, in 1924. Fanny Kaplan, on the other hand, was interrogated by the Cheka, and when she refused to give the name of any accomplices, she was executed by a single shot to the back of the head just 4 days after being arrested. Number 5. Malala. Malala is a Pakistani activist for the education of women and also a Nobel Prize winner. She is from the Swat Valley in northwest Pakistan, and in her region, the Taliban had at times banned girls from going to school. When she was around 11 years old, she wrote a blog for the BBC Urdu using a pseudonym and was later featured in a documentary talking about her life as the Pakistani military invaded her community. She became more well-known, and as a result, more people wanted to silence her. Taliban leaders reportedly said they had no choice but to kill her. So in 2012, a Taliban gunman shot her as she rode the bus home. The bullet went from the side of her left eye through her neck and into her shoulder. She was just 15 years old. She remained in critical condition and was sent to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in the UK and received an outpouring of support, becoming, at the time, the most famous teenager in the world. Since then, she's used her celebrity for good, starting a charity fund, writing a book, and is now studying philosophy, politics, and economics at Lady Margaret Hall, Oxford. Number 4. Adolf Hitler. Hitler was almost killed several times, but this is probably the most bizarre. There was a man by the name of Georg Elser, a struggling carpenter who was against Nazism. He thought Hitler's regime would lead Germany to financial ruin, so when he heard that Hitler was going to speak at a brewery near him, he started building a bomb with months to spare. He put it on a 144-hour timer and went to Munich, sneaking into the Burgerbraukeller brewery every night to make the perfect hole in the stone pillar behind where Hitler would speak. He installed the bomb in the hole and set it for November 8, 1939 at 9:20, what was supposed to be the middle of Hitler's speech. If everything had gone as planned, it would have worked perfectly. But with World War II in full force, Hitler moved his speech to an earlier time to be back in Berlin sooner. He was out of the building by 9:12 p.m., and 8 minutes later, the bomb went off. 8 people died, many others were injured, and Elser was captured that very night he was trying to cross the Swiss border. Number 3. Pope John Paul II. One of the most famous almost assassinations, Pope John Paul II was almost killed by a Spanish journalist, lawyer, and former priest named Juan Maria Fernandez y Cron. It was May 1982, and Juan Maria came after the Pope with a bayonet in Fatima, Portugal. He tried to stab the Pope with the 40-centimeter or 16-inch bayonet. The Pope not only survived, he blessed the failed assassin, who was arrested. He was sentenced to 6.5 years, but was released in 1985 after serving just 3 years. He said he did it because he believed that the Pope was in league with the Soviet Union and was a secret communist trying to corrupt the Church and the Vatican. Number 2. Bob Marley. In an attempt to calm the violence happening in his country after political unrest regarding Michael Manley's government of the island, Bob Marley announced his plans to play live. Politicians from both parties jumped at the chance to capitalize on the concert, and, even though he didn't speak to his political beliefs, some say he supported Manley in his proposals to start socialist reforms of the state to minimize inequality. The concert, held on December 5, 1976, went less than perfect. Bob Marley and the Wailers didn't even make it. 2 days prior, 7 men raided Bob's house and shot his wife in the head and him in the chest and arm. His manager was also shot several times, as was a band employee. Believe it or not, everyone survived. Marley's manager later said that they were both present at what he called a ghetto court in which the gunmen were tried and executed. To add, the manager, Don Taylor, said the gunmen confessed to it having been a job for the CIA in exchange for coke and guns. Number 1. Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol met his almost assassin, Valerie Solanas, in the mid-1960s when she asked him to produce her play called Up Your Ass. She gave him the script, later accusing him of stealing or losing it, and demanded compensation. Still, he hired her to perform in his film, I, a Man. When the owner of Olympia Press, Maurice Girodia, offered to publish Solanas' future work, Solanas thought it meant she was trying to buy it, creative license and all. She became convinced that Girodia and Warhol were out to steal her work and bought a gun. Then, in June of 1968, she shot at Warhol at the factory, wounding him once. She shot critic Mario Amaya and tried to shoot Fred Hughes, Warhol's manager, but the gun jammed. She turned herself in and served a 3-year prison sentence despite being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. She did get treatment in a psychiatric hospital, but after her release, she continued promoting her feminist manifesto as if time had not passed. She later died in 1988 of pneumonia. Thanks for watching. Did you learn anything new about these assassination attempts of famous people? When do you think it goes from being called attempted murder to being labeled as an assassination attempt? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and give this video a like before you go.